Hi and welcome to section 3 in this course, in which we are going to look at managing deployments. In the first video, we are going to go through the important concept of blue-green deployments. Now, when it comes to a deployment of an application, managing deployments is a big challenge. The first time you deploy an application is probably the easiest one. So the first deployment, you don't have that many number of changes. It's the first time you're actually going into production. But it's the subsequent deployments which are a challenge and can cause issues. A lot of testing needs to be done before you deploy the changes to an application. There are frequent checks which are carried out even after the changes have been made to ensure the functionality of the application is working as expected. But sometimes deployments do fail. So let's say you have an e-commerce application. It has various modules. You then change one of the modules of the application. So let's say the customer module. So what happens when it fails? So you can always do a rollback. So you can go back to the prior version of your application. But again, one important thing is that the rollback needs to be tested. So now not only effort is required in testing the application before it is deployed, carrying out the checks after deployment is made, but if a change fails, but you have to also ensure the rollback is tested. And once again, when you do a rollback, you have to carry out those checks all over again. So this is not the most preferred option because of the amount of time and effort that's involved in actually carrying out the rollback mechanism and also testing after the rollback is carried out. And then you also lose customer confidence. So when you deploy new functionality that's based on your user requirements or business requirements, and then if you have to roll back, it's not a very good confidence booster in terms of the customer. So the customer will feel that IT is not doing a good job in terms of deploying application and the relative changes. And the most worst case scenario, if in case the rollback is not successful. So if you try to go back to a prior version and something fails, and this normally happens in large complex systems. So in such a case, some organizations go for blue-green deployments. So what exactly is the concept of a blue-green deployment? So in such a case, you have both your applications which are live at the same time. Now the one on the left, which has the older version, so you have the customer, the orders and the products. This is the main version of your application that is being used currently by your users. You then have the other application, the other version also in production and it's live. But the only difference is that you have not as yet given it to your users. So this probably is being tested currently by your staging users, and any fixes which are being done are being put into this version of the application. So what is the main benefit of this? As you can see, is that you have both environments, your prior version and the new version up and running. They both are active. So this is not an in-place upgrade where you're replacing your previous version with a new version of your application. The benefits, you get to test your new live version as well. And if the new live version is okay, then you will do a cutover. So the new live version, the URL will be actually given to your end users, and your end users will start using this new version of your application. And again, why is it called a blue-green deployment? It's because the older version of your application, which is on the left-hand side, or the current version which is being used as production by your users, is known as the blue version of your environment. And the one which needs to go live with the changes is known as the green version of your application. So what are the advantages? Well, one of it is that you can test the new live version as is running side by side with the current production version of your application. You can roll back very easily because you still have the older version there. It's live, it's in place. So you can just do a quick switch over to the older version. This switch over can be done in the least amount of time. So let's say your new functionality in the new version is not working. You can do a quick switch over. So users can go back to the older version of your application. The only difference is that you bear a cost for the green deployment. So now since you have two versions running at the same time, depending upon the amount of time you're running both the versions, you will endure double the cost for that environment. Now, one of the main elements or the main services used in AWS for managing this blue-green deployments is Route 53. So this is the domain name system that's available with AWS. So what you can do in Route 53 is that you can make your site name first point to the production version, which is your blue version of your environment. And then you can do a quick switch over to the green environment. And we're actually going to see this, live in a subsequent chapter in which we'll use Elastic Load Balancer and Route 53 to divert requests to two environments in AWS. So some of the services which can help enable this blue-green deployment. So we have the Elastic Load Balancer, which we are going to see. We have Elastic Beanstalk. There is a very quick option in Elastic Beanstalk to switch environments between blue and green. So we're going to look at that as well. Some of the other tools that you can use are CloudFormation, Autoscaling, and OpsWork. Now let's go on to our next video, in which we are going to see how to use the Elastic Load Balancer for managing blue-green deployments.